Hi, everyone. Good evening, and welcome to Let's Talk Jaws Live.
Hello, everybody. How are you?
Guess who's here?
Hi, everybody. Hope I can help.
It's KevinPike. Hey, Kevin. Thanks for joining us, by the way. We really appreciate it. We are so excited.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Look at the Emmy behind him. Look at that Emmy. Unbelievable.
There's hard work pays off.
I know. I looked at you have a long career, a long, great movies that you have, special effects, props, everything. I mean, you name it. Black Sunday. I mean, we could start talking about, well, this is the Jaws live show. So basically, I mean, we talk about Jaws, but we also, we go off to other movies, talk about directors, special effects. And I'm sure you always get the same thing when you do podcasts or show, get the same question. How did you get started with working with the Jaws crew? Because that's a great story, even though you probably told it a million times. But if you want to tell it the short story of how it happened,
I'd be happy to tell it. It's a lucky break that I got, and I was very fortunate to be in the right place at the right time, and things fell into place. I happened to be in early spring in 1974 working as a busboy at the Harborside restaurant in Edgerton, Massachusetts, on Martha's Vineyard. And it was the day between Good Friday and Easter Sunday, that evening, when not much was going on, when a party of 6 came in and sat down and were quite lively and animated and talking it up. And they were very exciting. And I kept my eye on them and kept them watered and dishes bussed and everything I was supposed to do. And I realized they were talking about film. And then at the end of their meal, when they left, one gentleman left his valise, his bag, underneath the table. And I grabbed it and I rushed out, and they were still in the parking lot talking it up. And I said, "Excuse me, did anybody forget this?" And one gentleman, who happened to be Joe Alves, the production designer, said, "Oh my God, do you realize what you've done?" I said, "No, sir." He said, "You've saved my life. Do you know what's in there?" And I said, "I didn't look in the bag, sir." He says, "In there's the storyboards. You know what storyboards are, kid?" And I go, "No." He goes, "They're like a comic strip. They're like a cartoon. When you make a movie, you make pictures of everything, so everybody knows what we're doing." And I said, "Are you guys going to make a movie?" And they said, "We sure are." And I said to Joe, "Well, what's it about?" And he said, "It's about a shark that's going to eat your whole island." And that was my introduction to Jaws.
Oh my God! Because of your honesty. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, but
so it was maybe just a couple days later. I had gone to the post office, and coming out was the construction coordinator.
Uh-oh. Somebody in the background. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And it happened to be the construction coordinator for the movie. And he saw me again, and he said, "You ready to go to work?" And I said, "Yes, sir." He goes, "Come on down to the boathouse tomorrow." And he said, "What can you do?" And I just said to him, "Just tell me one time and I can do anything." And with that, we started a really great friendship. Started the next day, April 18th, 1974. I was one of about 12 that got hired, and we started working in the boathouse. And they had the orc in there, and we started everything that had to be done.
Well, I have a picture of it, actually, that I want to show you. There you are, actually.
Oh, I know that guy. I know that guy.
That's a great
I was
picture.
a dental hygienist. I was a dental hygienist at one time in my life, and I used to use animals.
And then how much was an hour? How much an hour did they give you? Like, I remember I
started at $3.50. I worked my way all the way up to $5.50 by the end of September, towards the end of September.
Unbelievable. That's amazing.
That's almost triple minimum wage. So yeah, that was good money. But now, were you union then, or you just did they make you join the union to work?
No, not then. They actually were upset that I wasn't in the union. There were some people on the crew that didn't want me to work because I wasn't in the union, but we didn't have a theatrical union there. Maybe in Massachusetts, certainly in Boston, but there was a bunch of local hires that got hired, and we got paid $3.50 an hour, and some of us a little bit more as the show went on, depending upon what we got to do. And I didn't get any credit for that time when I came out to Hollywood to get in the union out here. I just worked my way up day by day, job by job.
Kevin, as far as like before you got, that was just like almost like serendipity, like, you're in that chance where you had an opportunity, you grabbed it. But did you always feel like you had a creative like side to you? Obviously, you had creative like thoughts before you even pursued this of,
Well, when I was in school, I really wasn't the jock. I wasn't the sports guy. I really wasn't on any of the teams. I was more on the creative side. I started with the audiovisual club. We'd set up the projector for assemblies. And then I was in the camera club, and we actually took pictures of the sports people, and we developed them and put them up in the bulletin board. And then I became president of the drama club and was for all the 4 years of high school, Granby High School in Connecticut. And then I got best actor one year for a play. And it was my goal to continue to stay somewhere in the entertainment business. And so all of a sudden I'm working on a movie. I thought it was great.
Amazing. You were president of the drama club? Wow. So it was almost like preparation meets opportunity. So that's awesome. That's a great story. Thanks so much. Look at that. Ladies and gentlemen, this is.
I don't know how much preparation you can really
you're
ascribe to being a busboy. I mean,
but
that was just
you already have like drama experience and like some kind of creativity behind you. It's not like you handed a suitcase, but you didn't have any, like you had the creativity. It was just like meant to be. I don't know. That's just my take.
I was hopeful for a bigger career than bussing tables, but you have to do what you have to do sometimes to get by.
How old are you in this picture?
22.
22. Wow. Awesome. And you said that it like in 1974, you gave it to Joe. Joe came up and said, thank you. That's so nice. And when's the last time you saw Joe? Have you seen Joe?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. The sound's breaking up a little bit.
When's the last time have you seen Joe at all? Joe Alves at all at any of the conventions at all?
I have. I saw Joe. He had a retrospect of his work, and we got to see a new restored film of Close Encounters, and we got to reconnect again. I've seen him a couple of times in the past year. We met at Greg Nicotero's shop because he was building the shark for the museum, so we got to go and see how that was coming along. They were doing a great job. And then I did an interview with him for another project up at his house, and you got to see him then. And then we had a Jaws screening in Fullerton for contribution to the restoration of a theater, and saw him down there. And, we keep in touch.
That's great. He's such a nice guy. He's a really nice guy.
Very talented. Yeah. He's got a long history. Yeah, brilliant man.
Kevin, I was going to ask, excuse me, how does the restored shark look that Nicotero has done?
I hadn't seen it completed.
Oh,
Michael, I hadn't seen it completed at the time. They were still making it, and they brought us down there to say, hey, how do you think it looks? And we gave it our blessing, and it's going to be very enjoyable. What I heard was that when they put it in the museum, they're going to hang it, and it's going to be right near the escalator. So when you go up, you can get a very intimate association with it. So I was excited about that. Love to see it when it's done.
Wow. Because he made for the 2005 Jaws Fest, Greg made a mold of the head of the shark for people to pose with, and that looked great. So when I heard he was doing that project, I was really happy because he's a huge fan. He'll definitely do it justice.
Yeah, I met him on the 2005 outside the theater. I think that was the first time I met him. And then at the Academy many times because he was there for his work on Walking Dead. And I was a governor for 4 years. And so we bumped into each other annually. Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Big fan.
Well, you were nominated for a BAFTA too. So amazing.
Yes, I did. I got a nod. For a little picture called Back to the Future.
Little picture, yeah.
I've heard of it.
Yeah.
I tell my dad tonight, I'm like, guess who I'm talking to tonight, Dad? He's like, you know the DeLorean car in Back to the Future? He's like, yeah. I'm talking to the guy that created that. He's like, really? Look at Kevin's face. He's like, well, I love it.
Pretty popular. It's pretty popular.
Yeah.
Kevin, you've worked on so many great films that people have such fond memories of. Is there one particular film when people meet you that they want to talk about?
Well, the big ones that they always want to ask me about are Jaws and Back to the Future. It's usually number one because the car has touched everybody's heart worldwide. I think there's about 150 recreations made of our work that we did back in 84, 85. I get a lot of questions about a film called Last Starfighter. I'm doing interviews for that next week. That's near and dear to my heart because it was my first big film. It was really baptism by fire. I learned so much that I didn't know. I was way over my head, but we crossed the finish line as a winner. So that's always exciting. Obviously, Indy, too, did the American unit here. And also Jedi, I worked on that one, location effects technician. I worked with Roy Arbogast, who I've done 7 shows with at the beginning of my career. A lot of fans like Fight Club. That's pretty popular. You never know who's going to tag you and say, I'd like to ask you a question about, and then you have to go way back in your memory and try to, what show? I remember. It's a long career. It's 45 years of work, you know?
Yeah. Well, Michael knows you well from Jaws 2 because of his book. So special effects of that, you were the foreman on that job, right? Jaws 2.
Yeah, I had a big responsibility. Joe had come through the shop in March of that year and said, we're getting to go. And I said, okay, I'd love to be aboard. He says, go down and talk to Bob Matty. And Bob had me help out in his office coordination of all the ordering and all the parts. And that's exactly what he needed right then. And I did all the time cards and the cut checks, purchase orders. I started being the office coordinator for it and spent all the money that it took to make Jaws. And for the majority of the show, I was Bob's right-hand wingman in his office, making sure that we had all the tools, all the parts, everything that we needed. And later on, as it got just busy out there in the water, I ended up doing a lot of diving and continuing to work with the rest of the crew to get us to the end of that picture on location, which was around January of 78.
Mm-hmm.
It was 10 and a half months on location. It was a long time.
I've noticed a lot of your earlier stuff, like the car and Jaws 2 and Car Wash. A lot of them were Universal productions. Were you like on the lot? Were you just part of like the crew, and just kind of went where they needed you?
I kind of went where I thought it would be good to go, actually. When I came out, Universal was coming up with some of the pictures that it was doing at the time. They released Earthquake, they released Hindenburg, and then this little small picture called Jaws. And that got them rocking and rolling. And they were engaged with NBC. They did an awful lot of TV. We had every stage filled. We had sets inside sets. They're a very busy studio, and they were busier than the others. I started when I came out at Paramount on a picture called Islands in the Stream with George C. Scott. And I ended up working with Roy Arbogast, Mike Woods, Cal Acord, Richie Helmer, a lot of the group that had come from Jaws. And I just fell in the first day and started making, we only had to make 2 13-foot hammerhead sharks that Don Chandler, the wonderful sculptor who did Jaws and King Kong, he had sculpted those, and we started laying those up and making sharks. And that was my first day at Paramount. Everybody kind of wondered where I came from, but I had 6 months of training really with Roy on the sharks back there. So I got in the union, and then I was able to go to other studios. I did some set building, which is one of the priorities you have to kind of go through initiation. But then Steven turned around and said, we're going to make another movie called Close Encounters. And Roy and Joe got together and they asked me to come along, and they helped me follow a path of doing electronics with a fellow by the name of Russ Hesse, who taught me a lot. And we pretty much tackled that sign for a large majority of the time. We did a lot of stage work with trying things out to see if Steven liked this or like that. A lot of light effects that we were doing. We worked with Fillmore Sigmund, a lot of different things. And then we went to Mobile, Alabama for 6 months and did the rest of Close Encounters. But answering your question, I came back and then ended up moving around to different studios wherever the work was. Universal stayed very, very busy, and I did a lot of shows and features. And it was a shop about at the heyday 600 guys, and it was crazy what we got to do. Learned a lot.
You were with Raiders of the Lost Ark too, the Temple of Doom. You were.
I did.
Yeah, I want to like you were really educated in props too. The props alone, like everybody knows it. If you're just joining us, folks, this is Kevin Pike, and he's legendary special effects. He's been a foreman, supervisor, props, custom props, special effects for so many movies. Started with Jaws. If you're just joining us, he started with Jaws, and he actually developed the DeLorean motor car as the time machine in Back to the Future. So that's the man right there. That is the man. But
we had a big crew, a wonderful crew, about 10 fellows. We had an art department. We had some wonderful sketches from Andy Probert and Ron Cobb. We had Mike Chaffee as artistic coordinator to help interpret those drawings and say this would look good if we could put it there and things like that. So we had 20 men that did from the electronic side together with the mechanics on the car, and we made 3 cars starting in October till just about the beginning of the year. 3 DeLorean time machines for the movie.
Was the DeLorean always the idea for the time machine? Did they have anything else in mind, and you just kind of developed using the DeLorean?
Well, I had read the script, and they had decided to make the car one of the abilities to go back and forth in time and give it motion so it could go places. So we didn't have the car nailed down, but we knew that that's what it was going to be. The early renditions of the plasma ball and the refrigerator, that had gone before I got on. So when I got on, they said, we're going to decide on a car, and they wanted something that looked spacey. There was a little bit of conversation about a Mercedes Gullwing, but they were very expensive. But it had a point of reference because it was from 1955, and that's Doc's time period. So that got tossed around. But when DeLoreans at that time were very available price-wise, and we needed 3 of them, that became the game. And the next day they had 3 of them delivered to my shop, and we started cutting them up.
That's awesome.
It's amazing.
That's awesome. That is amazing. That is so cool.
Hey, Jay, do you have that Star Trek picture?
Yeah, I do actually.
Can you pull that up? Because you mentioned working at Paramount, and I remember this picture.
That's not Star Trek, by the way.
No, there's
Back
one.
To the Future.
Yeah, there's one from Star Trek: The Motion Picture. She's going to pull up of the crew on the set, and I always wondered. It was like the first picture I saw released before the film came out, and when she gets it up there, I'll tell you what my question is about the future.
Yeah. I want to know about the prop with the gold head in Raiders of the Lost Ark. Were you involved with that?
I didn't work on Raiders of the Lost Ark. I didn't build that.
Temple
I had
of Doom.
nothing to do with that.
I know you did, but like when you were in the with the Temple of Doom, like the prop, you did all the props and the special effects. You were the total supervisor of that.
No,
movie.
that's not correct. Sometimes we're assigned to build a custom prop. That's not that the prop master couldn't go and purchase or rent from a shop, right?
Yeah.
Oftentimes they have to have something constructed that's individual and personalized. So they would send that to the prop shop to make what they did. Our training normally came by building sets, then building custom props, and then becoming a special effects person on the set, which at that time was pretty much limited to atmospheric effects, steam, rain, wind, snow, fire, that kind of business, and then the pyrotechnics. But oftentimes you had a big enough show that you had to do custom props, and you would build those along with your prop crew, not the prop masters, not the people on the set, making sure that the actors were handling the props properly. But we often got assigned to build very custom things that you just couldn't rent or buy.
Wow.
That's that definition.
Do you have a favorite prop that you created of all of your various films?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a DeLorean time machine. It's from Back to the Future. It's pretty popular. A lot of people like it. I'm kind of fond of it. You know, they keep calling me.
Well, I mean, it was a question, but he could have said something different. He could have said the Rock from Temple of Doom or something. You know?
Favorite? You said favorite.
Yeah.
Let's see. Unusual demand. You do get asked to build some of the strangest stuff all the time because you never know. It's like, okay, now we have to do a grill on fire. You never know, and that's the wonderful part about our job and the business because it's creative. Somebody types a line, and then it becomes a reality with everybody's good help from the creative side, to the on-set filmmaker side and all the posts and the wonderful music and everything else. It's a big job for everybody. And every now and then we get to do some pretty nice things along the way that are memorable and people appreciate. Um, Off the top of my head, I really can't think of anything that was so unusual. The one in Wrath of Khan, I had very little to do with that, but at the time, there was at the end where Spock was going to die. He had to kind of hug this plexiglass bit of business that was supposed to emanate energy that he was going to absorb with his body, I guess. And they had some trouble with it, and it kept breaking. And they called me in to fix it up and get it straight and get it on the set and make sure that it worked and they could repeat the task and it wouldn't break. And it's what killed Spock. And I was kind of, I'll put that in my book. And so that's in there. I don't know, it's famous, but it was part of Wrath of Khan.
Yeah. Okay. The question I had.
I see your picture of
the motion picture. The question I had is in the top right corner, right above Sulu's head. There's a beam with a C-clamp on it, and I always thought it was weird they sent that out as a promo picture. So I guess in the 23rd century they were still using C-clamps. I just thought that was a fun picture to share. Do you prefer?
It's just the way the still photography.
Yeah, just they didn't crop it right, but I just thought it was always when I first saw it. That was the first thing I saw was the beam and the C-clamp. Do you prefer practical? Go ahead.
I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
All right. Do you prefer practical effects as opposed?
I can't hear you. Your sound is breaking up.
Jay, ask him if he prefers practical effects or to CGI.
Can't hear you.
I cannot hear Michael.
Jay, can you hear me?
His sound breaks up. I can't hear his question properly. I'm sorry.
Hear you. Sorry.
Me too. I don't know what the problem is.
I don't know.
Can you hear me, Jay?
No. Okay. Well, Michael, just can I send you the link again and then just pull you up again?
Yeah.
I just don't want to sit here with dead air.
Well, listen. If let me do this. I think if I can understand what he's trying to refer to is that there's a clamp with a light on it in the picture. Mm-hmm. All right. I don't know what movie it's from. The people are very small on my screen. I guess it's a Star Trek movie. The still photographer made a group shot, and I have no idea what that is. I didn't work on that part of the film. I had very little to do with the Star Treks. And that may be a piece of the set. I don't know, but I really wasn't involved in that. Okay. So I can't give you an honest answer. Right. And nor it's really not important.
No, I was just pointing it out as just having fun with the photo that it's the 23rd century and they were still using 2x4s and a C-clamp. Can everybody hear me now?
Can you hear him, Kevin?
Not well.
All right, Michael, what was it?
All right, Jay, I'll click out and then come back.
Yeah, why don't we do that? Okay, sorry, folks. We have some technical difficulties. This happens with sound. Sorry about that. If you're just joining us, KevinPike here.
All right. These happen.
And he is...
It sounds like somebody's twanging a rubber band.
He's the creator of the DeLorean and Back to the Future. And also, Kevin, the beginning of the movie Back to the Future is amazing how they that first 5 minutes of that film, that it starts off with the clocks and then it goes, like, it's so amazing. Like, with you just setting out the props, like the toaster and this and that, and like getting it at the right, that just amazes me, because the first 5 minutes tells everything about like what's going on without even having to like tell you anything. So I always thought that was genius, in my just my opinion. But
it was a pretty smart shot that Bob laid out. He realized that he could tell a whole story and give a lot of information to the audience right away. And it's all basically in one shot. And, it starts on the clocks because the movie's about time. So what the clocks represented, were he was infatuated with time because there were so many. And when we got the clocks, some of them worked, some of them didn't. Some got selected, some got rejected, and then they got placed with set decorator, set dressers, and Bob approved everything where everything was, because he had this idea to do this pass with this camera head crane and tell this story in order. And he had to talk about the plutonium, so he had the TV set go on, and then he wanted to see that the coffee didn't have the pot, and so it just dripped because the doc forgot, and the toast, and then it's burning, and so every bit told something. On the clock, some worked, some didn't. And so you could set the clocks that didn't work to the time that he wanted. And the other ones, when they went forward, every time we cut, we had to go back and set those back. And all the ones that didn't work, like a pendulum or the bells or something twirling or the cattail that didn't work, we had to make work mechanically from behind the wall. We had dozens of gals back there pulling strings and pressing wires and making them all work and then reset every time. So we did that. We had a gentleman putting smoke pellets in underneath the toaster, and then also kind of mopping up the splash so it didn't get out of hand. And then, of course, we had the dog food machine, and that was actually made to open a can of dog food and deliver it to a dish.
Yep.
Bob didn't want any cuts, and he didn't want any cuts. So we actually made a dog food machine that could grab a can and open it up and turn it over and plop it in a dish. The day before we shot that, the brand assurances said that they couldn't use this brand. They had to use this brand. And the difference doesn't mean anything to you. But to us, it meant that this new brand, the dog food doesn't kind of pour out clumpy. It's all solid in there. And we actually had to have another gentleman underneath the camera with a blowtorch putting heat on the bottom of the can. So when it did turn over, it was loose enough that it would fall into the bowl. For that one cutaway shot that Bob inserted into this wonderful move, with it hitting the dish. And then you go back right away to the door. Door opens. You see that he has a skateboard. And then the skateboard goes all the way across and hits that box of missing plutonium and tells the story.
Brilliant. Totally
brilliant. We did it
That's
about
awesome. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah. It was brilliant in its design. It's brilliant in its storytelling. It was happy to be a part of it. And Stephen was there when we did it. He just loved it. And it's meaningful today. It starts off a great movie.
Are you able, well, not are you able, were you able to see, starting out on these films like Jaws and then working Back to the Future, the talents that Spielberg and Zemeckis would become?
I didn't know Spielberg when I started working on Jaws. He wasn't there. We had the boat, the sharks hadn't even come, and then we heard that the company was coming to town and they were going to start shooting right away on what they could. And I met him on the first day when they did the shot on the beach where Brody finds the arm on the beach, and Joe had put a snow fence down there to help show distance as they walked up. And I was sitting in the truck. Ward Welton, my painter boss, who was just a wonderful guy, called me to the set at the very beginning of the first shot. And I brought the paint right there in the set, and there's Steven and Verna and all the people, and said, put some paint behind on the snow fence. doesn't have enough tech. Okay. And I did all that. And then when I was done, Joe said, thanks, Kev. And Ward said, thanks, Kev. And then Steven said, thanks, Kev. And everybody in the company that was around there made a funny joke about thanks, Kev, thanks, Kev. And so first day, first shot, everybody knew who I was. And I thought that was
That is
great.
great.
Right.
That's awesome. Wow. Get
Yeah,
chills thinking
it was fun. It was a lot of
that
fun.
picture right there. You're with Zemeckis and
Steve,
Spielberg. Got you there.
yeah. Yeah, that was his day. He asked for that. They said you got to bring the car up. Steven wants to see everything on it. He wants to make sure it's going to tell the story. Bob's right there. You can see how smiling Bob is because he's seen it. So it's kind of like, here's our car we've made for you. And and he asked all the pertinent questions. Well, let me. You can see I'm making it say 88 on the little box above the speedometer there. He wanted to know. Well, you have the speedometer. Yes, we had a tinker with the speedometer to make sure it went up past 88 to 95. The Universal Sign Shop kind of rebuilt that for us, but they wanted something else on top to really make sure the audience knew, oh my God, 88. And then, of course, the other picture that you had up where I'm sitting in the car and what we have behind my head, which I refer to as the Christmas tree, they needed that. So when they looked at Marty and he was going faster, that would also tell story. And that was Bob's idea. And he just said, we're just going to go from, green, yellow, red, or red, yellow, or whatever it was. And that just kept building more and more like a crescendo as Marty kept going faster. So Steven asked me to, press all the buttons, punch this. How does he make it go by mistake? And I said, well, you have this lever right here by his hand and he goes crunch when he shifts. Oh, okay. And he asked everything that he wanted to know about that car. And he realized, hey, we had it. And then he said, okay, great. And that was it. That was it. Go make the movie. And I was proud.
Now, when I saw the movie in the theater opening day, it ended with the end. Now, of course, when you watch it on home video, it's to be continued. Was there any idea of continuing the story when you were making the first one, or was it just one of those things where lightning struck and they just had a good storyline to continue with?
I think that when they made the first one, they were thinking about how to make this movie and how to get to the end and how to make it good. Everybody had a lot of stuff riding on this. There was, people were in the frying pan and they had to make it good. Then we had to make a kind of a change somewhere in the middle, and we had to keep going and make it good. And everybody wanted it to succeed. Everybody knew how good the script was. And they made a wonderful story. When I read that script, the first time I got to read the script, before I was even on the job, I said, I want to work on this film right now. I knew right away it was a great story that Bob Gale and Bob Zemeckis had pounded out and refined. And when we started, we got new colored pages every day. At least for the first month, we kept getting new stuff. They were honing it, tweaking it, making sure that it's a complicated story. Anytime you do time travel, it's tough. You can get yourself in a box pretty easy. But I knew it was good. Making a sequel, nobody thought sequel. Nobody thought sequel when we were making Sharks on Jaws. They've made 4 of those. We do our day's work to the best we can and hope we don't end up on the production report. And they love it in dailies. And then, it's a big weight. You got to finish it and post it and music and test it and see how it runs. And if it makes a lot of movie, it's a good idea. The idea of sequels wasn't as popular as it is today. I mean, how many Avenger films are there? And, they keep deciding, well, we could capitalize on another one of those or something. And they keep going.
But the story, what I always liked was that the story quality never went down. It wasn't. Carl Gottlieb once said the only sequel to lose money is the last one, because the quality gets worse and worse. But all 3 of those films are you can take them individually and they're classics.
They are very good scripts, very entertaining.
You get the right talent on the picture, you can continue to make good ones until the audience gets satiated with it. I like new stories that come along that surprise me. I was never fond of getting involved in a story sequel. I just didn't feel good about it. I liked that preciousness of that first one that came out, and it was da-da, and name sequels that have done better than the first. It's usually keeping up,
Yeah.
but it's never the impact of that first one you saw, because there's nothing to refer it to, right?
Sure.
The second and third, there you have to live up to that standard, and sometimes you reach it and sometimes you don't, but you lose all the first impression that you get when you see the first of those films that make sequels later. So that's where I'd like to be.
Were you on the set a lot when Eric Stoltz was playing Marty?
I was on the set every day, with the
Oh, okay.
exception of a couple of light days where I had to go back to the shop and help coordinate what was going on in the shop. We worked nights a lot, and so when I drove back through traffic back to Hollywood, to my shop in North Hollywood, I would spend an hour, a couple days in there to help them know what had to be prepared for that night, or how's the work coming on this, or this and that. But normally I was on the set.
Okay.
Kevin, you not only thought of the concept of the flux capacitor, like that was that already a storyboard, or were you the one? I mean, you designed it. Obviously, they give you a storyboard, you design it.
I did not design it. Our crew manufactured the car and built it. We had a lot of our input, our creative touches, and everything on that car. But I cannot say I designed that car. I made sure it got done right and well. But we had sketches, again, from Ron Cobb and Andy Probert, and we took those and tried to interpret them. You saw the sketch that Doc Brown holds up that looks like the beginning of what a flux capacitor would be. Well, we had something like that. And we had great electronics guys that knew how to build a circus that could do something like that and fancy it up. And Mike Chaffee put in some artistic touches. He didn't actually install or build anything like that. Our guys was responsible for that, but he always had, the say so about this would look good and this would look good. And he really modeled it in a wonderful way. Bill Klinger was our electronics engineer, and he made that flux capacitor. And then we needed this light value to it. And he basically went to Radio Shack and got one of those disco strobe lights and tore it apart and put it in there. And that's where that came from.
That's what my next question was, like when you're holding the radio. Yeah. Oh, wow.
Wow.
It's a collaborative effort. It's really a collaborative effort. And somebody says, it'd be great if we made these green, or, it'd be great if we made these out of wood, or, if we welded these, and everybody touched it. Everybody contributed, and great crew, and the results show.
And Return of the Jedi, obviously, like the storyboards, but then you come up creatively with the mechanics and everything, and the set on that is huge. And you were like,
I'll tell you what I did. We got hired. Roy Arbogast, again, called me up and said, hey, we're going to go on Jedi. They had a English effects supervisor by the name of Kit West, who's quite popular, had a very good name and career. And he had run the English side. Roy went over there to take a look at what they were doing and what we needed to do and get ready. But one of the first big deals that was obvious, a big element in the story, was the Scout Walker. The Scout Walker got its debut, its first appearance as a little model. I think it was only on the screen for about a second and a half, and it was about a foot tall, and they decided to make it 26 feet tall. And so we went to San Rafael. They got us a warehouse where they're building some of the other sets, like the bunker and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And we started working in there. We had about 7 guys. And we hired some of the locals from San Francisco to work with us, the usual ILM crew. And we built it.
Amazing.
And it was big, and it was top heavy. And we had to make sure it stood up. So we put out a plan to have I-beam skis that we would have to bury underground and position the feet and clamp that down to them, and they would get buried. And that would help support the top heavy head on that. And the mechanical the mechanical gentleman was named Billy Lee. And he put that all together and made that work. Later, we had to take the head off and mount the head on a D9 Caterpillar because we had to have safety with Chewbacca, who climbs in there and throws the stormtroopers out. We gave it its work. We had the guns and all kinds of fancy greeblies on there, and It was a lot of fun to
was a
make that.
huge
It was very impressive to stand
huge
there,
set.
and then you have little tiny Ewoks with it trying to beat it up and hang on to the leg, and it was colorful. It was a lot of magic.
Huge set, right? Wasn't like almost 400, like when you were filming, there was like 400 people, and watching a little bit of the documentary on that
When
with the fraternity.
when we did the mothership in the desert, there was a lot of people involved. There was a lot of people in the prop making side, the construction side under Norman
Yeah.
Reynolds, and he kept putting art into everywhere you could see. And then, of course, we had the Sarlacc pit, and that was an element unto itself because it had to be large and it had to be safe because of the stuntmen. And we had to coat it with foam, and then we had the mouth, and we had to make simple articulations to give it a little bit of life when they fall in there, like the lips are going to eat them.
Amazing.
And it was a big deal. But I recall one day when we went to work and the company was there, and the call sheet said something as silly like coffee ready at 4:30 for 455 people. Now, I may not be accurate about the number, but just let me tell you, that's a lot of people on a set. And
They're all,
you knew you were on something really big.
were they
Really
all
big.
union, Kevin?
I don't know about
Joking.
that. That's not my department. I know I was. I know I was.
450
So,
copies, please. 450.
Well, Jay, you want to open
I
it
don't
up?
know. I don't know the rules, and
I just wanted to make sure I mentioned that.
Yeah. Do you want to open it up to questions for the last few minutes?
That's what I was just doing right now, actually. Yeah.
All right.
So I wanted to, let's see, I'm going to hide this. And you have, there's silent there. Let's do,
I can see you really good now, Mike.
Good. Finally. Kevin, I don't know if you knew this, but right now we have people in Brazil, Australia, and England, and Canada, of course, Victor, watching this. So you've got fans all
That's
over the
great.
world.
Hi, everybody.
Got fans all
I
over the
appreciate your
world.
interest. I'm glad that you're here. I hope I can answer your questions. I've been with some of the fans up in Canada and England, but I haven't gotten down to Brazil or Australia yet. But I often hear from them. My Facebook is awfully busy most of the time with fans from all around the world, and hopefully I could get to meet them all.
Yeah. We have Ian Kruger Morton's on.
Yeah.
And he wanted to ask her. I'm trying to pull him up right now. Excuse me, folks. We got the software. Okay, Kevin. Did the 3 mechanical sharks look frightening? That is a question from a fan.
Did the sharks look frightening? When? When we were making them, or when they were in the water being filmed?
Doesn't say, but I'll throw the next question at you. Have you seen the new Bruce? We already talked about that.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's see. Hi.
I saw him in the making.
I got a set of the Jaws.
But give me a chance, Jay, to let me give a little bit of an answer. The sharks looked frightening. The sharks looked frightening when we were making them because they were so big. They looked frightening when we put the teeth in them. That's when that's when it had teeth, and that's when it first became frightening. When it was swimming in the water and you couldn't see it, and it came up and you could just see the fin cutting through like a submarine periscope, that's when it was frightening. That's why I asked when. Whether it was in the shop, yes, and when it was out at sea, yes, very much so. And I think the audience thought so too.
Back to the Future starring Canadian icon Michael J. Fox. Yes. Kevin, can I?
Yes, he was Canadian.
I was going to say, they have a website where you can actually rent the DeLorean, and all the money and the proceeds go to Parkinson's. I was on that the other day, and I was looking at it, and I was like, that is so amazing. It broke my heart. I was crying. It was like I was watching some of the stories on there, and you could
yes,
and then the money goes to Parkinson's. It's just amazing what they did, like as far as charity with that. Like,
let me just speak about that. I've done some videos in contribution to that. We also had a cruise that went out to the east side of Caribbean. That was a Back to the Future cruise, and fans could come and ask us questions and get our pictures and things like that. And we could donate things. And I went through my treasures and my memorabilia, and I silently auctioned off about $3,500 in a contribution to Parkinson's, Team Parkinson. And I've had fans come from France. Mitch Garcia, who's a big fan of Back to the Future and a big help to Team Parkinson. He came here and we did some videos for the fans. You got to give to get. And if you forget that, you'll never get.
Yeah.
And that's my heart.
Oh, thanks, Kevin. That's nice.
Very true. Well said.
I don't mean to hide your face, Kevin, but the software only lets me go. It says, who was the toughest?
This is a good one.
Who's the toughest director to work for?
Who else? I can't see the rest of the question.
Okay. It says,
I see Zemeckis. I see Spielberg.
The list is very impressive. Zemeckis, Spielberg, or Hackford. Well, Kevin, who is the toughest director to work for? The list is very impressive. Zemeckis, Spielberg, Hackford. They want to know what.
David Fincher. David Fincher.
David Fincher.
Good choice.
Nice. Wow.
David Fincher. Did I take too long to answer you?
No.
I love David Fincher. I loved working for David Fincher. He knows everything about anything technically. You could never say, well, the camera got jammed or blah, 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 or this or that, or doesn't have enough. He knows everything about what's going on. And you better have your act together. Yeah. And if you don't, you better be able to recover right away. If you spill milk, you better be able to grab it and go again. Now, I loved him. I loved that story, Fight Club, because it's so unique, Chuck Palahniuk, and it's just crazy what they did with it. But his demands were very high, and his temper for time was very short in most situations because he knew what he wanted, and he was hard. And the results, in my opinion, show up on the film. You can't imagine the detail that is in Fight Club. It's just sensational if you break down the little parts. Oftentimes an audience just sees story and actors and words, and they don't get what's going on. But I know because I was there and on the set. And it was just amazing. I mean, when it came time for the car to crash into the other car, it was like a Lincoln Continental. And then what's it going to crash into? How about a Lincoln Continental? And then, of course, you have to do it again. And then, okay, one more. And then you do it again. And then he wasn't happy with something. And then we had a break at the holiday, came back, and we did it 3 more times in the rain, in the dark. And it had detail all the way through it. And I have high regards for him. Great respect. I love working for him. I would love to work again. I've worked on a music video called... it was A Perfect Circle is the name of the band, and I think it was called Judith. And we worked on that. Alan Davio was the great DP who I worked with on several other projects. And it was just about the accuracy and the coverage. He just beat it up, and it was enjoyable to see where he goes and where he thinks. And I was happy with that association.
Wow. That is it too. We have Victor. You should keep the DeLorean from Back to the Future.
Hey, Jay, can you bring up...
I would keep a DeLorean time machine.
Can you bring up Keith's question?
Yeah, where is
about he wants to know if Kevin ever had the opportunity to work with Martin Scorsese.
Okay. Yeah.
No.
No, he hasn't. Okay.
Tell him I said no.
Okay.
Oh, that was easy.
Would I like to? Yes, of course I would. I would. He has a regular guy he uses all the time that he loves, and I think the guy's been with him since the Gangs in New York, and as long as the show's on this side of the pond, that's his go-to guy. But what I love about Marty is he knows film so well. He's got his own selection of pictures that are kind of worldwide on the Criterion channel, and every one of them is just jaw-droppingly interesting and has so much to do with film for what film is really all about. and his choices are impeccable. His knowledge of film and the directors, nobody could win a Jeopardy contest with him with that. I mean, he knows his business.
What about
Is there
and I just heard that he's doing a documentary on the New York Dolls.
Oh, wow.
That's his next
Really?
project. Yeah.
That would be I would love to see that. No one's really gone there before. I went into that, the New York Dolls. There's no other documentary.
That's Marty Scorsese. That's what happens. You know, that's how he thinks.
Is there, I mean, you've worked with so many great filmmakers. Is there one out there, I mean, besides Scorsese that you really like, you know, one day you get that phone call from to come work with? What
director, Kevin, if you got a phone call, would you love to work with?
Well, I'm very fond of a picture called Breaker Morant that was directed by Bruce Beresford. He's an Australian director, but it was a very well done picture. It was based on a true story of the Boer War in Africa, and it basically is bifurcated between action between the Australians and the Dutch fighting for the Germans and the English, and then a riveting courtroom drama about them being court-martialed for killing prisoners of war. And the back and forth of the pendulum through the whole story. And, oh, my God, I don't know what's going to happen. What's going to happen now? And then there's a good thing, and it goes over here. But one of the key elements that I enjoyed was when he does a battle sequence, it's accurate. This gun shoots that guy. It's not just like a bunch of machine gun fire and then the Indians fall off their horses. He's really got keen direction for the action sequence. And it's so crisp when you're in the courtroom, you can hear a pin drop. And I would like to work with him someday.
Nice. Somebody's asking about James Cameron a couple times. James Cameron.
Did you ever get the opportunity to work for him or talk with him about his, you know, because he's out there with Terminator and Avatar and everything else. He's taking special visual effects.
He's done some pretty popular pictures. Yeah, I've never met him and I've never worked with him.
Huh.
He just interviewed Spielberg the other day. I watched that. It was pretty interesting. James Cameron interviewed Steven Spielberg. It was pretty cool to watch. Is it true the time machine originally would have been a live refrigerator instead of the DeLorean?
That came from Brazil.
Okay. Oh, that's our Brazilian friend, right?
Yeah.
I can't hear you. You're breaking up a little bit. Okay. You're breaking up a little bit. Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Put that question back up, Jay.
Sure. I don't want to blow.
I can't hear you. You're breaking up a little bit.
There's the question. Is it true that the time machine originally would have been a live refrigerator instead of the DeLorean?
Oh. I don't know. Wait, is that something that was talked about before? I don't.
Ask and answer.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, we talked about. We talked about it earlier, and did talk about it earlier in the show. But I'd never heard the live refrigerator.
I never heard that, but you never know because it's always.
I don't know what a live refrigerator is compared to a dead refrigerator.
Kevin, she's also in Brazil, so her English may not have been worded the best way. I think that's really all we had for this evening. Thank you so much for joining us. Sorry for the technical issues, but
anytime.
Wait a minute. We didn't talk about Emmy. He got an Emmy for Earth 2.
Oh, yeah.
Which was a series that ran in like 1994. And I actually watched a bunch of episodes, and they're really amazing special effects. He won the Emmy for, and it's right behind him, folks. That's KevinPike. He is legendary special effects, props, and I'm glad that he came on. And wow, I was just like listening to your stories and love it. Kevin is he's responsible for the creation of the DeLorean time machine, and he is a special effects supervisor and talent screenwriting.
Perfect.
That's what I do now. What I do is I kind of coach writers to help them finish their scripts where they're having trouble. And I enjoy it very much, and seem to have a knack for it. And they like like my contribution when they're lost, and how to structure it and how to get to the finish line. So it's very good. I've had an opportunity to read a lot of scripts and take a lot of training and get involved in how the story becomes the end result. So, I spent days sitting at the set watching actors emote lines that were written and how it affects everything. And that's helped me now when I help other writers when they're trying to get to the end of their project, which I enjoy.
So you can visit his website. Actually, I have a link right here. It's actually filmtricks.net, and it'll pull up his if you want to check it out. That's Kevin's website for helping screenwriters, and just wanted to give you a little props there. And also, I was going to show a clip of you.
You can contact me on Facebook.
Yes, Earth 2, he won, and that, you know what? It was only one season, 21 episodes, but you know what? As far as like special effects and CGI back then, I mean, the storyline was pretty like original, like, and different. Like I was really good, Kevin, and I'm telling you, I'm honored to have you.
We like Earth 2.
Yeah.
We like Earth 2 very much. We did a 2-hour pilot in 20 episodes, and my family went to Santa Fe, New Mexico, and we had a house there. And I went there for a year. It was a complete year. It was Steven's Amblin production. One of the early thoughts about it came from Tony Thermopoulos, who was just a wonderful gentleman, and he came out and visited us during the course of the build. But it was nice to be in Santa Fe. It was nice to work with those people. We had a lovely cast, and we had some very thoughtful episodes. The fans loved it. Somehow during some different bureaucracy or some other business, I don't know. We never knew, but all of a sudden we heard that after a year's completion, they were pulling the plug. Crocodile tears. I mean, everybody said, "What? You got to be kidding me! This has got enough room to go for years." And we loved it. And the crew was a great crew, and the people in New Mexico were great people, and I enjoyed working them. And then we got nominated for sound effects, makeup effects, and special effects. And I worked hand in hand with DreamWorks on a lot of their stuff and their shots, and they made a great contribution. And we actually got the nod, and we were grateful.
Unbelievable. It's so amazing to have that. We're just honored you came on, and thank you. Like you were giving us all these stories that were great. We didn't really have to ask you anything. The people out here are all excited because I was going to pull clips of the DeLorean when it comes out, and then the beginning of the clock scenes.
No,
I'll just let it roll because
I'm happy with all of them. I've been blessed to have. I think I added them up. I had maybe about 18 different projects of different kinds for either Spielberg, DreamWorks, or Amblin, and that's an honor to be closely associated with them. But we came out of the first one that was big, Jaws, and they kept on hitting them. So it was a pleasure and an honor to help them out.
One more before you leave. The Blues Brothers is like one of my favorite movies too. I don't know. I just love that.
Not too much to do, but we did work on it. We worked on the lot. They had a deal where they had some extra chase bits that they didn't get to do when they were in Chicago, and they came back to the Universal lot, and we had built pits in the streets where the cars could go in and get caught, and some chase drama, some stunt work, things like that. One of the things, this reference to your prop business, one of the things that we were always in charge of back then was any kind of technical lighting. And they had a blues club, and we had to dress it all with the neon lighting.
Wow.
And then we had to make a rocker on the stage for some reason where something happened, some kind of rumble, and we had to build a stage with this rocket. So you don't know. But you end up making a great jazz club, and you get to work with all the crazy cars that they wrecked up, and helped out a little on Blues Brothers.
How was working with John Landis? How was the?
I didn't really have any direct contact. With him. I met him several times at the academies and BAFTA. A wonderful rapport and great conversations. But no, I don't know him well, and I haven't worked with him directly.
Perfect.
Well, yeah. Well, I go on and on because your resume is just crazy. Xanadu, which I love. It's like one of my favorite movies. Kevin's like, calm down. Xanadu, Suburbia.
I didn't hear you. I didn't. I didn't hear
I
you.
can go on.
Suburbia was kind of Suburbia was kind of interesting as a movie. I got to work with Penelope Spheris, which I really liked. I liked her as a director. I liked her films. Um, and a fella came out of Ohio that he used to sell furniture. He decided he wanted to make a movie. And so they made this movie called Suburbia. And the guy, Chris Peterson, who's the star, and only did a couple of films and then he bailed on Hollywood. I thought he was fabulous. But we didn't have much to do. There was a scene where I remember they go behind a bus and the bus puts smoke in their face and they throw a breakaway beer bottle at the bus. And there was a couple other good gags in there. But, there was a scene in a garage where the punks are in the garage and the guy gets a fire extinguisher and he blasts them to get out of there and they kind of rough them up and a little bit of stunt work accessory there. But I liked Penelope very much. She was very kind.
Yeah. Wow. Thanks. Wow. I loved hearing that. That was cool.
Mm.
Wowzer.
Yep.
Oh, and then I had a picture of you I was going to pull up before we say goodbye. I know we've been dragging on it, but I had the one where your Facebook I saw with your daughter said, I have the coolest dad ever because you're in the DeLorean and then you've got the brain. I had that picture that I was going to pull up.
Well, that picture is right there. We went to France a couple of years ago. I was there in the beginning of 18, and this was the day after New Year's. And a very good artist, his name is Jordan Samper, Samper, Frenchman, made that picture homage montage of some of the major shows that I've worked on, and pieced it together and brought me to my knees in tears. I couldn't believe that this man just picked up this and put it all together. They invited me to dinner. They said they wanted to see me, and all the fans around France at the time were there, and I signed a bunch of stuff. And then all of a sudden, this major presentation and New Year's celebration, and he had that wrapped up, and I unveiled it, and I cried. I cried my eyes out. How he stylized it, and it was thoughtful in the mystery. It really was. It's like, in the card is from the paper mill house in Fight Club. And he just wove very small bits of business in it. One of the things, if you look on the cufflink, it says DC in reference and gratitude to my good friend Dean Cundy, who I had worked with on Escape from New York and Warning Sign. And he was the one that was instrumental to bring me in for my interview on Back to the Future. And we worked together on that. And so there's a lot of goodies in there. And naturally, I'm very proud of it. And I can't say enough about Jordan Samper's artwork.
That is amazing. I love it. That is great. Look at the legend. Kevin.
Yeah.
Thank you. Oh my God. Wow. Oh, I think Kevin has a picture of Michael J. Fox on this wall, top left. I can't see.
I don't know.
Maybe.
I thought I saw a picture of Henry Winkler up on top. I don't know. That could be me.
I don't know if it's Henry Winkler, but I did do Happy Days.
Yeah.
I got plenty of them. I got Michael down there with Tom and Butthead in the cafeteria. He's right there with Doc putting in some beer in the car. He's up here with Doc Brown and in the brainwave machine that we built. And I got Jennifer, and I got Crispin Glover, who I adore, and some more Jennifers and other good stuff. There's a card right there.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, Kevin, thank you.
It's a nice hero
Thank
wall.
you again so much for joining us.
And thank you. We appreciate it. Oh, really? Thanks.
I'm honored. Thank you. I'm in gratitude. I appreciate the fact that you called on me to help.
Thank you.
Thank you I'm sorry about the technical difficulties and being patient with us today. I appreciate it. Yeah, look, Kevin, I could have went.
Patience always wins.
I could have went time after time. I wanted to talk about that. I had the
that's a good one.
Firefighter. I love that movie. Oh.
We didn't even touch on that. That's a good one. Nick Castle. That's great.
And even this.
Okay. Well, listen, thank you. I appreciate the fact that you selected me to be a part of your process. And a big hi out to all your fans. They have Facebook. They know how to get a hold of me. And I'm happy to answer their questions.
Perfect.
Okay?
Thank you again.
Guys, thank you, Kevin. Bye. Have a great night.
Good night.
Thanks for having me. Ciao. Bye.
Oh, well, that's it. Wow, that was great. That was great. he was telling some good stories, huh, Mike?
He was indeed.
Yeah, we're still live. I just wanted to make sure that I wanted to say thanks, Keith. Victor again. I didn't really get a chance to say all this because Kevin was on a roll. He was going one story and out the other. And I just wanted to thank you for coming back again. There's a few comments that I did not get to, and I apologize. So I just wanted to make sure that if you didn't see your comment go up, I apologize because Kevin was telling all these stories and I didn't want to interrupt him because he was just going. So that was a major pleasure to have him on. What a legend. I mean, unbelievable. I mean, we didn't even go into like pulling the clips or anything when the DeLorean appears, and amazing. I mean, it goes on and on. But anyways, okay, guys. Victor, thanks again. We didn't get to ask him that. He is gone and off. So we'll see you guys next Thursday. Come and join us again live at 6:30 here. And please, if you're just joining us on the live broadcast and you didn't watch it, you didn't have the time to, you're coming back, leave a comment. And also, Kevin Pike will see his name and he will answer questions, believe it or not, because he sees when his name is tagged, right, Michael?
Yeah, yeah.
We know that.
Very fan friendly. Ask him what you want.
Very much.
Except about the live refrigerator, apparently.
Victor's awesome. This is great. Thank you guys so much. Okay, we will let it roll and we have a good night and we'll see you next week. See you later, folks. Thank you. Bye. Have a good night.